Good day everyone. For today's video, I'm going to answer all the questions that throws to me. And by the way, I am Lovely Spirabutan. First, what is the power of international organization? Refers to an international intergovernmental organizations or groups that are primarily made up on a member states. The examples of member states is United Nations and WHO or WHO. And the second one is what are the three types of powers in the international organizations? The first one is the power of classifications. It is the ability to classify objects, invent and shift their very definitions, and identify objects. The second one is the power of fixed meaning. It is a states organized and individuals views IOS as legitimate sources of information. The second one is the power of diffuse norms. It is exercise a third type of power by spreading and enforcing global values and norms. And lastly, what is the purpose of international organizations? Power plays an important role in the information of international organizations or IOS, including the formal institutions established by non-states and promote collective actions at the intergovernmental level.
Discuss and differentiate the organs of the United Nations. The first organ is the General Assembly. It is the main deliberative organ of the United Nations. The second organ is the Security Council. Its primary responsibility is to maintain international peace and security. It is composed of the P5, which is the China, France, Russian Federation, United Kingdom, and United States. The third organ is the Economic and Social Council, which focuses on the economic and social issues. It is the central platform of the UN for discussions on the sustainable development. The fourth one is the International Court of Justice. It settles legal disputes on the nations and not on individuals. The fifth one is the Secretariat. It is responsible for serving the other organs of the United Nations, and it is led by the Secretary General.
I am Jarashad Parilla and I am going to discuss state regionalism. So state regionalism is where countries from the same geographical area form organizations that acknowledge a political system and are distinguished through cooperation and coordination to economic policy. This way, countries respond to globalization in terms of economics and politics. So examples of organizations that are formed through state regionalism are ASEAN, NATO, OPEC, and a lot more. There are several reasons why countries form regional associations. One is for military defense, another is to consolidate their resources, and it is a way to combat the economic crisis. These regional alliances among countries are made to defend and protect countries from threats from other associations, pursuing world peace, aid various issues, and it is a way for countries to develop economic cooperation with one another. So that would be all for state regionalism.
So I'm going to talk about non-state regionalism. Non-state regionalism are individuals or organizations that have powerful economic, political, social powers that are able to influence at a national and sometimes international level while not belonging to or allied themselves to any particular country or state. So some of these groups include Rainforest Foundation, Regional Interfaith Youth Networks, Migrant Forum. So they are called the new regionalism as to differ significantly from traditional state-to-state regionalism when it comes to identifying problems. So it is more open and permitted to go beyond the distinct regions. So these may range from a small associations to large unions which usually advocates to address a singular issue to a multitude of concerns which may range from food security to defense. And that's all. Thank you.
What is NATO and when it was organized? NATO is an acronym of North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was formed in 1949 and the objective of this organization is to provide collective security against the threat posed by the Soviet Union. NATO has originally 12 members, which are Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and lastly, the United States of America. What is contribution of NATO to each member? The contribution of NATO of each member is to provide funding for the strengthening of military forces. In 2006, NATO defense ministers agreed to commit a minimum of 2% of their gross domestic products to spending of defense.
What is OPEC? OPEC means Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, was founded in Baghdad, Iraq, with the signing of agreement in September 1960 by 5 countries, namely Islamic Republic of Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. They were to become the founder member of the organization. The purpose of OPEC, in accordance with its statute, the mission of the OPEC is to coordinate and unify the petroleum policies of its member countries and ensure the stabilization of oil markets in order to secure an efficient economic and regular supply petroleum to consumers. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries is an association of 11 countries that attempts to maximize the member countries' profit from oil sale by coordinating the amount of oil that they sell. Another goal of OPEC is to bring stability and harmony to the oil market by adjusting of oil output to help to ensure a balance between supply and demand.
Non-aligned movement, or NAM, is an aspiration of developing countries that not are formally aligned with or against any major power bloc. At the turn of 21st century, the non-aligned movement had 120 member states. Fidel Castro's aim in his 1979 Havana Declaration was to guarantee the national freedom, autonomy, territorial integrity, and stability of non-aligned countries in their fight against imperialism, colonialism, neo-colonialism, apartheid, and other forms of international invasion, colonization, exploitation, and intervention or hegemony. While several of the members of the non-aligned movement were actually very closely aligned with one or the other of the superpowers, the movement remained consistent during the Cold War, despite many disagreements between members and members that undermined the movement as well.
What is ASEAN? The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, is a regional grouping that promotes economic, political, and security cooperation among its 10 members: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. The ASEAN Declaration states that the aims and purposes of the associations are to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region through joint endeavors in the spirit of equality and partnership, in order to strengthen the foundation for a prosperous and peaceful community of Southeast Asian nations, and to promote regional peace and stability through abiding respect for justice and the rule of law in the relationship among countries in the region, adherence to the principles of the United Nations Charter. In 1995, the ASEAN heads of state and government reaffirmed that cooperative peace and shared prosperity should be the fundamental goals of ASEAN.